What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex. In this video, I want to talk about how I would run the first year of the Nintendo Switch 2. This is an ongoing series I've been doing on the channel where I look at a situation, talk about how I would run things if I were in charge. If there's ever any suggestions or things you guys want me to take a look at, definitely let me know in the comments. I tend to write these down. I take them very seriously. Okay, so look, in this situation, I'm coming in, I'm stepping into the Nintendo CEO shoes, and what we have to kind of lay the groundwork on first, right, is like things we can touch and things we can't touch. So you're going to kind of start to see what my limitations are from the first couple of bullet points. I'm going to assume like the price of the Switch 2, at least non-US, is going to stay. I mean, you could maybe say I'm going to go to the shareholders or whatever. I'm going to talk to them about lowering prices, but I'm going to kind of leave that alone. Something like that virtual game key where the game isn't really on the cartridge. I mean, you could try. I'm going to generally leave that alone. So there's some things I'm going to try to not touch, okay? I want to try to have some rules where I have to almost take on the shoes of the Nintendo Switch 2 with some problems already in place. However, the very first thing I'm doing, and this is going to be enormously controversial, I want to lead with it because I kind of think it's going to be fun. I'm going to delay the Switch 2 in the US in terms of a release. Now, the reason I'm going to do this, not to make it all about the tariffs, not to make it all about politics, because also we've actually already done a video on that, but the reason I'm going to do this is simply to really nail down that price. So in this fictional world that I now, am in charge here, we don't know what the price would be because of tariffs. I mean, I guess we would, but we also then don't know if the U.S. and Vietnam, where the Switch 2 is going to be coming from, we don't know if that situation is going to be solved in time. So the issue that I run into as CEO is if I put out the Switch 2 and I say, okay, we're going to $550 US, people pre-order it for that, people buy it, and then the tariff thing gets resolved like a month and a half from now, well, then we can actually lower the prices, and I'm going to have a very ticked-off fan base, let's say. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do an even more controversial decision, and I'm going to delay it by a month or two. So the thing is coming out now in July or August, and I'm praying to every gaming god that something gets resolved, where I'm able to dictate a price for the U.S., and I'm able to stick with that price. I don't have to raise it. I don't have to lower it. So that's the first thing I'm doing. It's going to, and this is even more controversial, it's going to release worldwide on June 5th, but not in the U.S. In the U.S., we will wait till July or August 5th. So that's the first, it's either going to get me fired on day one or they're going to keep me around. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is we got to talk about, like I said, what can we touch versus not touch. We're going to keep the prices the same, okay? So when we've dictated, my previous management has already said it's $80 for Mario Kart World. I'm going to leave that alone. What I am going to very much stress to kind of live in this like in-between world is that we need to push quality above all else. If we're charging $80 for these games, we need to be super, super careful, and these games need to be the best freaking video games on planet Earth. But here's what I will say, again, in terms of my fake CEO thing. We are going to be picking on a case-by-case basis. Not every game is $80. In fact, and you're kind of seeing it. Donkey Kong is $70. Mario Kart World is $80. So we're picking. Metroid's going to be one thing. Pokemon, when Animal Crossing eventually comes out, we're going to pick here and there, but not every game is going to be $80. It's going to be a case-by-case basis. Now, the one thing I will fix, day one, is this small little issue that might be actually larger than small, is that in the Switch 2 cases, as talked about by the Nintendo support team, Switch 2 cases on select games will actually have the Switch 1, like physical cartridge of a game, and then it'll have the digital download for the Switch 2. I'm erasing that day one. If we're going to reinvent this box art thing that I'm not a huge fan of, but it's whatever, if we're going to redesign and have the logo for the Switch 2 and have cases for the Switch 2, by God, when they buy that Switch 2 case and they open it, they're going to get a Switch 2 cartridge as well. So that is one thing. The pricing of the Switch, I'm going to kind of leave alone in this fictional what-if scenario. But what I am going to fix is that when you buy a Switch 2 case, the cartridge is actually a Switch 2 version. You're not going to buy Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, and you're not going to get a Switch 1 version and then the download code. You're going to get a new case, a new cartridge, whatever, of the Switch 2 version. So that's one thing I'm going to do. I don't care how much money it loses, we should make it up in other places. So one thing I'm doing is I'm noticing, and I'm looking back at the records, and I'm saying, okay, when we announced the Switch 2, we didn't actually have a 3D Mario game, and that's unacceptable. Now, I'm sure I have a team somewhere deep in Nintendo that's been working on a 3D Mario game. I'm going to hope, and I'm going to kind of break my own rules here, and I'm going to hope that game and kind of make it my own, will it into existence, and have it be a Mario Galaxy 3. I chose this background actually for a reason. Galaxy 1 and 2 are my favorite Mario games of all time. I think they're actually some of the better video games of all time, period. I think they defined the Wii, at least they did for me, and because I'm CEO, I have an agenda, and I get to put that in the game. So, again, breaking the rules a little bit. I don't think the studios are actually making a Mario Galaxy. It's probably a new 3D Mario game, but I'm going to have them do that. And you know what? I'll say this. If they're not doing a Galaxy 3, I'll invent my own rule here. If they're not making a Mario Galaxy 3, they're going to starting tomorrow. Okay, so that's going to be the 3D Mario game going forward. Now, I do like to dabble in remakes and remasters, so sticking with the theme, we can do Zelda, we can maybe pick some Pokemon games. In fact, those are not off the table, right? Like Diamond and Pearl, things like that. But one thing we need to do, I think, and to fulfill my agenda further, we're actually going to remake Galaxy 1 and 2. Now, we're not going to do that Superstars pack that I think was just a complete joke, the limited edition, and then it's pulled from store shelves forever, including digitally. That was not very fun. That wasn't very cool. We are not going to do that. But, you know, just kind of extra content, extra games to come out. We do live in a world of remakes, remasters. Again, I think Animal Crossing is worthy of doing something like that for. We've already been trying that with Metroid, right? Remastering those, but we're going to do it for Galaxy 1 and 2. Let's go third party, and then we're going to come back for our grand finale for the first party stuff. So when it comes to third party, I'm going to make sure we have, or I'm going to do it myself if it already hasn't happened. We got to keep securing games. Now, I think we've done a really good job at this so far. You look at the Nintendo Direct, you got a lot of third party, a lot of good stuff. This isn't going to be, I think, the Nintendo of years past where you get games third party support 2 years after the game comes out, or not even at all, right? We're getting Hollow Knight, Silksong day one. We're getting all that jazz. But I am going to make sure we get literally as much as possible. So, you know, a game like I mentioned Metal Gear as a prediction. I want Delta just to kind of have it on the Switch too. But one company I'm really, really going to kind of right away is I'm actually going to Microsoft. And so again, this is a what if inside a what if. If we have not already secured Starfield and the upcoming Fable and all of this stuff, upcoming Gears of War things, if they do Gears of War, anything upcoming and previously announced, I want South of Midnight eventually, right? All of this jazz. If we don't already have those deals in place, I'm making those deals. We are bringing Starfield over. We're bringing Halo over. If they're coming to PlayStation, they're going to be coming to the Switch. And by the way, like this whole what-if scenario, these are things I secretly, not so secretly, I want. And I think that it actually makes a ton of sense for Nintendo to have these Xbox games coming over. They've already dabbled with it with the Switch 1, with a couple games, and I guarantee you they're going to do it with the Switch 2. But again, as CEO, I'm going there and making sure all that is in order. You know, I'm going back to Square Enix and saying, okay, you're giving me Final Fantasy VII Remake, you're going to do Rebirth as well, right? I'm going to EA and talking about what's the potential of like a Battlefield 6 coming over. I'm going to everybody, okay? We're going to get as many third-party stuff, but just to, you know, in terms of pinpointing what specifically I want those Xbox games. I think that's rather important. As we've seen, Xbox has really helped ecosystems of other places when they've sold their games on them, so I want that as well on the Switch. And then to end it off, let's go back to the first party. I got two big announcements that I wrote down. So again, I'm only CEO for a year, so these are only like actual announcements. I don't know if I'll actually be around when these things happen, but I'm announcing a new Animal Crossing game that's coming out in holiday 2026. Just trying to spread it out, right? I'm assuming a 3D Mario game is going to come out within the next, say, 12 months, okay? So between now and next summer, you're going to have Metroid 4, you're going to have Mario Kart. So we got a Mario Kart, we got a Metroid, a 3D Mario game. We have to hit a couple other spots, so that's why we're going to do Animal Crossing. And I'm also announcing a Super Smash Bros. For the following year for 2027. So try to place like a really, really, I guess I actually forgot Pokemon as well. well, which is enormous too, right? So we're going to try to have like multiple franchises every year. You could throw in a Fire Emblem. I actually think I wrote that down. Fire Emblem and Animal Crossing sometime in 2026, and then Super Smash in 2027. Space it out. Give me one game, maybe two every year, really one like guarantee every year that could sell 10 plus million units. We do it all the time. We did it with the Switch 1. We released a game every year that sold 10, 15, 20 million units. I want to do it again for the Switch 2. That's my plan. It's not super crazy. This was one of the easier ones in terms of this video series that I have done, but you let me know what you think about it in the comments. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.